Tuesday, October 12th, 2021. Special town meeting is this Saturday. I'm urging everyone to attend. A request to authorize the tree warden to issue a permit for the removal of 2 public shade trees.
I was contacted by the owner of 6 Hilder Street regarding 2 trees that he suspected to be dying. They are deteriorating rapidly and do pose a risk to utilities located in the public way. Property owner did agree to replace the 2 trees with native species trees. The main reason this request is before the select board tonight is per Mass General Law. If an objection is made in writing to the removal of trees, it does require select board approval in order for a permit to be issued. We did receive an objection, not necessarily the removal of the trees, but to the public hearing process, which we addressed. And as a result, we're bringing this request before the select board tonight.
My main problem here is process. It was never posted on any agenda by any tree warden. I couldn't actually find out who the tree warden is. I'm not even sure we have a tree warden. This was never posted under the Shade Tree Act. This was posted under the Scenic Roads Act. It was not resolved in the meeting that I objected to, and it still hasn't been posted on the tree. The point is, this isn't being done correctly.
Chip Barrett was our tree warden when he retired, and I did name Steve Cronin as our tree warden.
Because Hilder Street is a scenic road, we asked council to give us an opinion on whether or not this needed a scenic road application. Their initial look at it, they thought it did. Once Mr. Jeffries made his objection, we asked them to determine whether or not this needed a joint public hearing. After council looked at it, they determined that because there was no paving work involved with the tree, and the tree was within the right of way, a tree warden hearing would be sufficient. As far as the posting notifications, they all met the requirements of Chapter 87. So under Chapter 87, the requirement is that it has to be posted in a local publication in 2 successive weeks ahead of the tree warden hearing, which it was at Town Hall and at the Highway Department garage, and it has to be posted on the trees itself, which it was.
What's the urgency of this? If Bob's got this objection and there's any doubt, we could postpone this to our next meeting and make sure that all I's are dotted and T's are crossed.
We should be following policy. If there's any doubt, that sounds like there may be. I'd rather wait a couple of weeks and make sure that we do things correctly.
It sounds like sort of the consensus of the board, and I agree, if there's no urgency, is why don't we continue this public hearing? We have a request to approve the following: a banner for the Westford Academy Theater Arts production of the SpongeBob musical, the Boy Scout Troop 159 annual winter sporting goods sale, request to use the town common and the bandstand for a memorial service in All Saints Day. We have a request for the Veterans Day program, Hanukkah menorah display, and then a Hanukkah celebration. Lastly, the road race walk by the Friends of the Poor Walk. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Aye.
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 Aye. Aye. An update and recommendations from the Clean Energy and Sustainability Committee on achieving Westford's net zero greenhouse gas emissions goal by 2050.
There are 2 components. One was asking Westford to commit to take actions to promote clean energy and reduce fossil fuel use. The second was that the select board would charge a committee with coming up with a roadmap to net zero, which is what we're here to talk about tonight. 1.0 will be published within a week or so, and we're looking for endorsement from the full committee, the full Clean Energy and Sustainability Committee, for that version 1 of the roadmap. After that, we plan to go out and get community engagement to speak to businesses, residents, and so on in town, and we will accept their feedback, adjust the roadmap accordingly, and then publish a first edition we're targeting for spring 2022. So our high priority goals and actions are to green the grid with 100% renewable energy, charging stations in town. Right now we're putting charging stations in Town Hall, the Abbott School, and Westford Academy. We need to continue to do that throughout town. Natural resources, I talked about this in the beginning. We need to make sure that we preserve our trees, our wetlands, and so on, so that carbon is sequestered. The first thing I was explaining that I think we need is a central place for information where people can go and find out about what's happening, what the plan is. get advice from other residents and so on.
First off, I just want to say to you, Beth, and to the entire committee, wow, you guys have been really, really busy and have done an incredible amount of work and research.
Now that some of the communities near us have had sustainability manager positions in place for more than a year, if there's any kind of end of year summary of actions and results, here's what happens in the first year after adding this kind of resource, and this is the kind of impact it had, this is how the amount of grants received changed, whatever, I think that would just help me in thinking about priorities.
So I know you're not going over the community survey results tonight, but I'm really curious to learn about that and hear what they are, just to see what the discrepancy is between like what we think versus what you're hearing from the town.
Having a central place where all of this information is gathered, I think would be enormously helpful. Consider the process for determining prioritization of uses of the ARPA, otherwise known as the American Rescue Plan Act funds.
We could divide this process into two phases. The first, originally we said 6 to 8 weeks, and you all suggested that we consider requests directly related to the impacts from the pandemic. And then after the board examined those requests, which seemed higher priority, then they could look at all other requests. That is what we put in your packet, and we're just kind of looking for you all to decide your process. It wasn't really about looking at any specific projects tonight.
And generally for the list of stuff that was on your first page of the memo, where it's like mental health requests, something else that I'm interested in kind of understanding more as well, that I personally feel like it is a COVID related expense, is all of this virtual stuff that we have. If there are any cybersecurity needs that we might need to beef up anything, if there's accessibility needs related to the Zoom platform that we have for like CART reporters, or like, kind of like the computer automated generated script stuff. If there's anything like that that could improve our accessibility for people with disabilities in the community, I would be interested in considering that.
We had allocated some money for households that were dealing with rent shock, and that money was quick to go. And that is a current problem. If you look at what's happening with food prices right now, some of that is inflation. Some of it is in fact COVID shock from how we handled supply chains with beef, and for example, and so forth during 2020. So there's a very real need, I think, for food assistance from those with fixed incomes that aren't used to seeing prices change by 20% at the supermarket. So can we front load some of that need to those who might need it today and may not need it in 2 years?
I think if we agree on the structure tonight and can set some dates on it, maybe a recommunication to some of the committees saying, if you have a request, this is the information we need, we'd like it in this time frame.
Perhaps Tom and Jody can talk offline, put together a couple of questions in a timeline, and then get back to us. Request from the Conservation Commission to grant conservation restrictions on the following properties: the Switzer Conservation Land on Lowell Road, the Timberlake Conservation Land on Tenney Road and Wing Road, the Stupinski Conservation Land on River Street, the Shelley Lane Conservation Land on Shelley Lane, the Connolly Conservation Land off of the Rome Drive Extension, and the Genova Conservation Land on Stony Brook Road.
I'd like you to not vote on Genova Conservation Land, because that is the property that we're trying to repair the Stony Brook Bridge, and we don't want to put this in place until that's done.
Okay, is there a motion to grant a conservation restriction to the Conservation Trust on the properties listed on our agenda tonight, with the exception of the Stony Brook Road land?
So moved.
Second.
Aye.
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 We have a request from the Healthy Westford Committee to repave the Pauley Road entrance to Nabnasset School.
The Nabnasset School has two entrances, two paved entrances. The main one directly from Plain Road is an ordinary road with 2 lanes and wide enough for school buses. The other one, though, is a single lane paved, but the pavement is very deteriorated. We're hoping for support from the board for having that repaved now.
Is this a valid use for our asphalt plant mitigation asphalt?
Yes, we can.
I'm looking for a motion to support the request from Healthy Westford Committee to repave Pauley Road entrance to Nab School.
So moved.
Second?
Aye.
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 Aye. A request from the Town and School Safety Task Force to appoint Dennis Galvin as the Finance Committee representative. Then we have a request from the Affordable Housing Trust to appoint Raji Ramachandran. And then we have a request from the Town Clerk to appoint election officers. Is there a motion to appoint?
So moved.
Second. Aye.
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 Right.
I have a request from the Assistant Town Manager to accept a grant from the Community Compact Best Practices Program to fund the installation of level 2 electric vehicle charging stations at Public Works, Water, and Fire Department facilities. And a request from the Council on Aging to accept a grant from Greater Lowell Community Foundation to support mindfulness for better health and mental health.
Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Aye.
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 Aye.